This conference will now be recorded.
So in the previous session, we have discussed about the various practical use cases which can be implemented by using Apex programming language. So by using this Apex programming, we have implemented the various small programs in order to implement some certain functionalities as part of our development. Now, so let's see some more functionalities which can be implemented through by using some ready-made fundamental building blocks given by the Apex programming language. Now, so now for example, yesterday we have implemented a small program. This is the program which we have implemented. Like we are utilizing the two numerical variables, and these two numerical variables we are performing the various operations. We are performing the various operations on this numerical variables. Like I'm having the two values, 1000 and the 50, and these two values I'm performing the various mathematical calculations. Like I'm performing the addition and the subtraction and the multiplication and the division and the modulus. I'm performing all these operations on these numerical values. Now, so let me paste this same code and let me try to execute here, and then let me show you some problems in this code. How to solve that problem, we'll see. So let me go to the execute anonymous window. So I have uploaded the video. Okay, just to check it out. Check the drive now. So let me go to this execute anonymous window. Here I'm placing the code, whatever the code yesterday we have prepared in order to perform the mathematical calculations on the two numerical values. So I'm placing that same code again here. That's it. I'm not writing this code. Yesterday we have written this code, same code I have pasted. So here we are performing the mathematical calculations on these values. So here the first number value is 1000, second number value is 50. Now let me execute that same code. Click on execute. Now it has sent the result to the Salesforce server, and then I have received this debug log file. Select the debug only checkbox and we can see the result. Addition operation result also we can see, subtraction result, multiplication result, division result, and the remainder result. We can see all these operations result, all the mathematical calculations we can do, and we can see those results also. Now, for example, if I'm giving the second number value 0, what will happen in this case? If I'm giving the second number value as 0, what will happen? I'm executing, okay, up to the multiplications. Up to the multiplications part I'm executing. That's so that I'm selecting these statements, I'm executing this piece of code. So click on execute highlighted. So it will be sending the request to the server. It will execute that code. It will show the result. Select the debug only checkbox and we can see the result. Addition result is 1000 because 1000 plus 0, 1000. Subtraction result 1000 minus 0, 1000. Multiplication result 1000 into 0, 0. Okay, we are having these results. Now, suppose for example, I'm performing division operation also. Then what will happen? In this case, what happened here? It is going to be indicating that first number value is what? 1000. Okay, first number value 1000 by second number. What is the second number value? 0. Something by 0. What is the result here? Infinitive. So whenever if you want to divide a number by 0, it is returning that infinitive. So that you know that, okay, that you know a universal truth that we can't divide a number by 0. Okay, we can't divide a number by 0. It will be returning the value as infinitive, but in any of the programming language, whatever we have in IT industry, in any of the programming language, it may be C also, C++, Java, .NET, including our Salesforce also, we don't have any such a data type to store the value of infinitive. So infinitive means what? An undesired value. It's an undefined value here. So in this case, whenever we are going to be trying to be storing the undefined value, an undesired value inside this result variable, that means integer variable, it won't accept. So in this case, what it will do here? When you try to execute this piece of code, it is going to be indicating, let's see, click on execute highlighted, it is giving this exception to me over here. It is giving some error to me, system.math exception divided by 0. Divided by 0. It is going to be raising an exception. Now tell me, do we have any problem in the code? No. There is no problem in the syntactical wise. Syntactical wise, my code is perfect. But logic wise, my code is some wrong. Logic wise, my code is having some issues. Some operations can't be performed. Now, so when I try to divide a number by 0, then Salesforce won't allow me to perform this operation. It is indicating that system.math exception divided by 0. Okay, system.math exception divided by 0. Now, so because here, whenever you are dividing a number by 0, it is returning the result as infinitive, but this infinitive value we can't store inside a numerical variable. That is a problem. That is a problem. Now, so now here in this case here, whenever I'm dividing a number by 0, it is going to be causing some issue to me, system.math exception. Then what is this exception basically here? What is this exception? What do you mean by an exception when the exceptions will be getting occurred? And then sometimes, okay, you should be able to understand that what is the difference between an error and an exception? What do you mean by an error? How can we solve it? What does it mean by an exception? How can we solve it? Okay, we'll see. Now, for example, so assume that I'm writing some piece of code by using some Apex programming language. By using this Apex programming language, I'm writing some piece of code. So this is the Apex code which I have written here. This is Apex code. Okay, now. So once the code has been getting written, so this code is called as what? Whatever the code that the developer has written, this code is called as source code. This code is called as source code. So whatever the code has been given by the developers, so now whatever the code has been written by the developers, that code is called as a source code. So once the code has been written by the developers, what these people will do, immediately they are going to be compiling the code. They would like to compile the code. So how they are compiling the code? By using a compiler over here. Okay, they would like to use a compiler. They would like to use a compiler. They're doing the compilation process. So what do you mean by this compilation process? Compilation is nothing but a process which will verify the syntactical mistakes inside your code. Because that already we have discussed in the initial concept of Apex programming language, every Apex program, every statement in that programming language should ends with a semicolon. Apex is not a case sensitive programming. Apex support SOQL, SOSL, DML, everything. Already we have discussed. So upon writing that Apex programming code also, we have to follow some rules. We have to follow some principles. So based on the principles only, we can write the code. Why? Because every programming language is having its own principles, its own limitations, its own standards, its own guidelines also. Now, Like the similar way, once the code has been written by the developer, I want to know, okay, whether this code is correct or not. Do we have any syntactical mistakes inside the code or not? For that one, we are sending this code to the compiler, which will be compiling the code. So now tell me, what is the compiler available for this Apex programming? For the Apex programming, we are having a compiler called as Apex compiler. You know that concept. Already we have discussed. So we have an Apex compiler. We have a compiler called as Apex compiler. So what this Apex compiler will do, Apex compiler is going to be verifying the syntactical mistakes inside the code. So whatever the code that I have written, whether that code is correct or not, whether that syntax is correct or not, whether the rules are perfect or not, whether the developer has followed all the principles, all the rules, all the standards, all the guidance of Apex programming or not. If the developer has followed all the principles, then only the code will be getting compiled successfully. Now, so in this case, upon compiling this particular code, if there is a syntactical mistakes are available here. Okay, upon compiling this code, if there is any syntactical mistakes are available, then what it will do, it is going to raising some compilation errors. Okay, it will raise some compilation errors. So while compiling the code, if there is any syntactical mistakes are available, it is going to be raising the compilation errors over here. Now, so upon compiling the code, if there is any syntactical mistakes are available, it is going to be raising the compilation errors. It will raise compilation errors. So these are also called as compile time errors. These are also called as compile time errors. That means some errors will be getting occurred when upon compiling the code. Upon compiling the code, it is going to be raising some errors which are called as compilation errors. Then why these compilation errors will be getting occurred generally? Compilation errors will be getting occurred because of a few reasons. So what are those reasons? Now let me explain. The reasons is, the first one will be because of syntactical mistakes. Because of the syntactical mistakes, you will be getting some compilation errors here. That means during the compilation, so now it is going to be identifying that upon writing the code, you did not follow the proper syntaxes. Next. Second one. The second one is lack of system resources. That means in order to compile your Apex programming code, in order to execute your Apex programming code, what are the required resources, which are required memory spaces, required components, those may not be available. This is the second major reason. These are the two reasons because of which compilation errors will be getting occurred. These are also called as simply errors, or these are also called as compilation errors. Then how can we solve these compilation errors? How can we solve this compilation error? If you want to solve this compilation error, we are having only one mechanism, that is, we have to go to the code, modify the code, and write the code according to the syntactical rules of Apex program. The only mechanism is we have to go to the code again, modify the code, write the code according to the syntactical rules of Apex programming. That is the only way that we have. So now whenever if you're facing any problem inside your code, if there is any syntactical mistakes are available, if there is syntactical errors are available, the only solution is we have to go to the code, we have to modify. So that immediately we are sending this code to the developer, so to modify the code. So please modify this code and then write that code according to the syntactical rules of Apex programming language. So that here we are going to be sending that information back to the developer, so we can go to that Apex programming code, modify that code, and resubmit the code for the recompilation process. This process will be keep on continuing till the code is completely successfully completed. Even though if there is any one small mistake, also Salesforce won't allow it to go ahead. We can't move that code go ahead. This is the problem. So whenever if you want to solve this compilation error, there is no general mechanisms here. There is no alternative mechanism. So only mechanism is we have to go to the code, we have to modify the code, and we have to write the code based on the syntactical rules of Apex programming. Now, suppose here if there is no syntactical mistakes are available, if the code has been compiled successfully, there is no syntactical mistakes, then we are going to be sending this code to that execution process. So we can send that code for the execution process over here. We are going to sending that code for the Apex runtime. Apex runtime engine. So by using this Apex runtime engine, we are going to be executing this Apex programming code over here. Okay, now. So now here the Apex runtime engine is going to be executing this code. Whatever the code that you have written, that code will be getting executing by the Apex runtime engine. It will execute that code. It will execute the code here. So now here in this case, upon executing this code, it is going to be causing some errors also. So while executing the code, it may cause some errors. Okay, it may cause some errors. Those errors are called as exceptions. Okay, those errors are called as exceptions. Now, upon executing this piece of code, okay, upon executing the code, whatever the errors has been occurred, those errors are called as runtime errors. Those are also called as exceptions. It will be causing some runtime errors. And these are also called as exceptions. So whatever the errors has been occurred at compilation time, those are called as compilation errors. Whatever the errors has been occurred at runtime, those are called as runtime errors, or these are also called as exceptions. So now why these exceptions will be getting occurred? Now let me explain the reason. The reason is runtime errors will be getting occurred due to the wrong logic. Due to wrong logic. That means whatever the logic that you have prepared, that logic may be having some wrong. Because I'm dividing the number by 0, right? That is also one of the wrong logic that I have written. Syntactical wise, that is correct. But logical wise, I have given some wrong values here. Next. The second one, due to missing the values for the required fields. That means whenever I'm performing the operation, we need to supply the value for a few fields which are mandatory, but it did not supply the value for few fields. This is the second reason. Third reason is due to invalid input values. Maybe I have supplied some wrong values over here. Okay, maybe I have supplied some wrong values. Because of that, here it is going to be causing some exceptions. So whenever I'm executing the piece of code, upon executing the code, it is going to be raising some errors which are called as runtime errors, and those are also called as exceptions. Exceptions will be getting occurred because of the wrong logic, because of missing the values for some mandatory fields, and then because of supplying some wrong values for the variables. Because of that, it is going to be raising some exceptions. Then how can we define an exception and how can we handle those exceptions? So what do you mean by an exception? Here now, let me explain practically in this case. So let's come to a general scenario. For example here, assume that I'm traveling from Hyderabad to Bangalore. Assume that I'm traveling from Hyderabad to Bangalore, okay, on a bike, okay, on a two-wheeler vehicle. So now whenever I'm going to be traveling from Hyderabad to Bangalore, in the middle of that, okay, in the middle of that route, somewhere my bike tire has been punctured. Okay, somewhere on the middle of that way, so my bike tire has been punctured. Now tell me, is it a expected one or unexpected one? Unexpected. Whenever I'm going to be on the way, I'm traveling to some Bangalore, then on the way, suddenly my bike tire has been punctured. It's not an expected one, it's an unexpected. Now, for example, so whenever I'm reaching to the Bangalore, okay, nearby that place, okay, whenever I'm reaching to the Bangalore nearby that place, I met with an accident. Okay, I met with an accident. So is it an expected one or unexpected one? Unexpected. That means what? Whenever I'm going to be performing some operations, some unexpected things will be getting happen. Some unexpected things will be getting happen. These kind of unexpected things are called as exceptions. So what do you mean by an exception? Exception is nothing but an undesired behavior or an unexpected behavior of an application at runtime. Okay. Exception is nothing but an undesired behavior or an unexpected behavior of an application at runtime. Those are called as exceptions. So in this case here, so now how can we solve these exceptions? How can we handle these exceptions? Now, in order to handle the exception, there are some ways are available. Like for example, let me give you the alternative ways. Now, so now whenever you are traveling on from Hyderabad to Bangalore, on the way somewhere your bike tire has been punctured, then what we can do? Do I need to cancel my travel? No. So nearby that place, I will check for the service center. I will go to the nearest service center. I will make that bike tire repair, and then I will start my travel from there. That is one way. Second way is, second alternative way is, so we can maintain a stepney tire, and then whenever my bike tire has been punctured, we can replace the tire and we can start the travel. That means there are some alternative ways are available. Now, in this case, what happened? Whenever if there is an unexpected things are happened, then there are some alternative mechanisms are available here. So, like the similar way, upon executing the code, okay, if there is any unexpected things are happened, those are called as exceptions, and we can able to handle the exceptions also. There are some alternative mechanisms are available here. We have few alternative mechanisms are available in order to handle those exceptions. Whenever an exception is occurred, then what will happen? Whenever an exception is occurred, it is going to be terminating the application abnormally. Okay, abnormally means what? Here in the middle of the application itself, it will be terminating my application execution process. So I don't want to terminate my application abnormally. I want to make that graceful termination of my application. I want to make that graceful termination of my application. For that reason, I would like to handle those exceptions over there. So how can we handle those exceptions? Now let's see. Whenever if there is an exceptions are occurred, we can able to handle the exceptions by using two mechanisms. Okay, with the help of two mechanisms, we can able to handle those exceptions also. How can we handle those exceptions? The first one is by using conditional statements. First one is with the help of conditional statements, we can able to handle the exceptions. Second one is by using exception handling mechanism. Exception handling mechanism. These are the two ways are available through which we can able to handle the exception. Whenever if there is an exception is occurred upon executing the code, we can able to handle those exceptions, okay, with the help of any one of this way. We can use conditional statements or we can use exception handling mechanism in order to handle those exceptions over here. So, whatever the compilation errors are available, there is no way to handle the compilation errors. Mandatorily, we have to go to the code, modify the code, resubmit the code for the recompilation process again. This is the only way. Through programmatically, we can't handle that code. Okay, manually, we have to go to the code, modify the code, and then write the code according to the syntactical rules of Apex programming language, and then only we can able to resubmit that code for the recompilation process. So, but if there is any exceptions are occurred, then exceptions we can able to handle over here. Okay, exceptions we can able to handle with the help of what? Exceptions can be handled with the help of, okay, exceptions can be handled with the help of by using exception handling mechanism at the conditional statements. Now, So now in this case, whatever the exceptions have been getting occurred, those exceptions we can able to handle by using the two mechanisms. One is conditional statements, second one is exception handling mechanism. Then what exactly the conditional statement, what conditional statements are available? Now let's see practically in this case. Okay, now let's see that. So now we are going to be discussing about a feature called as conditional statements. So what do you mean by this conditional statement? Now let's see. Now let me explain that process. Now, so this is a piece of code which I have written previously. That means in the yesterday's session, I have written this piece of code. So whenever I'm giving the second number value as 0, upon performing the addition, it is working as it is. Subtraction, it is working as it is. Multiplication is working as it is. But upon performing the division operation, it is causing some issue. Why second number value is 0? Whenever I'm dividing this value 1000 by using the second number 0, it is causing some exceptions. Then what I need to do here, if you want to prevent this kind of exception, then what we can do, before performing these operations, I want to verify, before executing this statement, I want to verify whether second number value is greater than 0 or not. If the second number value greater than 0, that may be, it may be 1 or 2 or 3 or anything. If the second number value is greater than 0, then only I want to perform these two operations, or else I want to skip the execution of these operations. Okay, so then what I want to do, I want to add a check. I want to add a condition. I want to specify a condition before executing this statement. Before executing this statement, here I would like to add a condition. I want to verify if the second number value is greater than 0, then only I want to perform these two operations, or else I want to skip the execution of the statement because it will cause some errors. So in this case, what we are doing here, upon executing that code, upon executing this code, the flow will be executing like this. It will be executing the flow from top to bottom. It is executing statements one by one, one by one, one by one. Whenever it is reaching to that, I would like to verify. If the second number value is greater than 0, I want to allow to perform. If the second number value is equals to 0, then I would like to skip the execution of the statement, so that I don't want to execute this two statement. I want to skip the execution of this statement. That means what? I am deciding that. I'm deciding the execution of these statements based on some condition. Based on some condition results only, we are deciding whether these statements can be executable or not. So that whenever we are executing some statements based on some conditions, then we have to use the help of conditional statements. Conditional statements are used to add one or more number of user-defined conditions. Conditional statements are used to add one or more number of user-defined conditions in order to verify whether the further statements can be executable or not. Okay, whether the further statements can be executable or not. If the conditions are satisfied, then only, if the conditions are satisfied, then only it will be allowing that to perform the operation. If the condition is failed, it won't allow you to perform this operation. Simply the statements will be getting skipped from the execution. Simply it will be skipping from that execution over here. It won't execute these statements. This is a way. This is the way we are going to be handling the conditional statements here. So conditional statements are used to add one or more number of user-defined conditions, which can be used to verify whether a piece of code can be executable or not. If the conditions are satisfied, then only I want to execute those statements. If the conditions are failed, I don't want to execute this statement. Simply I want to skip the execution of this statement. That means what? Whenever I'm going to be using this conditional statements here, I would like to verify here. If the execution is going on like this here, whenever it is reaching to that, I would like to change the control flow. Don't execute that, skip this one, go to that last statement. So I'm not executing these two statements because it will be causing some exception, because here it is having some condition has been failed. So that we can change the control flow. Okay, we can change the control flow. Like for example, whenever you are going on the road, okay, from one place to another place, there are some no entry boards are available. There may be some one way is there. Whenever if you are entering into the one way, definitely you will be meeting with some accident. So for that one, they're adding a checkpoint over there. They're going to be adding a board over there, no entry board. So that means here, don't enter into that, go with the alternative mechanism. Okay, go straight and then come to the right, left again over here. So they will be giving some alternative ways. So because this route is not safe, so don't enter into this route here. They're indicating that they're going to be simply changing your flow. They're changing your route. Like the similar way here also, okay, don't execute this statement. You will meet with some accident, so that here just skip the execution of this statement. Like the similar way, here we are implementing the functionality by using this conditional statements. So conditional statements are used to add one or more number of user-defined conditions, okay, in order to verify a piece of block of statements will be executable or not. If the conditions are satisfied, then we can execute those block of statements, or else we can skip the execution of the statement. So that here, whenever if you're deciding the execution of the statements based on some certain conditions, then we can use the help of conditional statements. Okay. So then what are the various conditional statements are available in Apex program? As part of Apex programming language, okay, as part of Apex programming language, we are having 3 conditional statements are available here. Apex provides the below 3 conditional statements. What are those? First one is if condition. Second one, switch statement. Third one, ternary operator. Ternary operator. These are the 3 conditional statements has been given by Apex programming language. Now, so now here in this case. So as part of Apex programming language, we are having these 3 conditional statements. If conditional statement and the switch statement and the ternary operator. Now, now. So now in this case, now. So initially, when Salesforce has given that Apex programming language, during that time, they have given only 2 conditional statements. If conditional statement, and the second one is they have given the ternary operator. Okay, they have given the ternary operator over there. They haven't given, okay, they haven't given any switch statement. Okay, they haven't given any switch statement over there. But later, okay, they have introduced the switch statement also. Okay, but later they have introduced the switch statement also over there. Now, now. So now again in this case, when Salesforce has given this switch statement has been given by Salesforce, okay, from summer 18 release. Okay, from summer 18 release onwards, Salesforce has introduced, okay, the switch statement. That means almost 2 years. Because this month 18th, Salesforce is giving that new release, that is summer 20. Okay, summer 18 onwards, they have introduced that new feature that is called as switch statement. Since the summer 18 release. Since the summer 18 release, we are having that the conditional statement called as switch statement here. They did so many lack of enhancements inside this switch statement here, and then they have introduced the switch statement with a different syntax. Okay, with a different syntax. So previously we don't have this switch statement. Switch statement has been introduced by Salesforce, okay, as part of conditional statement since summer 18 release. That means almost 2 years, not before that. So this is the common question here. So now will Apex programming will support that switch statement or not? Yes. Because since the summer 18 release, Salesforce has introduced the switch statement also as part of your Apex programming language inside the conditional statements. Okay, now. So these are the three conditional statements have been given by Apex programming language. Then how can we use these conditional statements? Now let's see one by one. The first one, if conditional statement. So what exactly the if conditional statement? If is also one of the conditional statement which has been given by Apex programming language by default. If is also one of the conditional statement which has been given by Apex programming language by default. Now, in this case, so in this case, by using this if condition, what we can do, with the help of this if condition, we can add one or more number of user different conditions. So now here in this case, with the help of this if condition, we can add one or more number of user different conditions before executing that statement. So before executing that statements, we can able to add one or more number of user different conditions so that we can able to verify whether these statements can be executable or not. So let me give that note point here. By using the if condition, if condition, we can add one or more user defined conditions. More user defined conditions to be get verified before executing the statements. Before executing the statements. If the conditions are satisfied, then it will execute the statements. Else, it will skip the execution of the statements. It will skip the execution of the statements. So by using if condition, conditions, we can change the control flow of the program execution. We can change the control flow of the program execution. We can change the control flow of the program execution. This is the functionality of if condition. So as part of this if condition, we are having 4 syntaxes are available. 4 formats are available. So now here if condition provides 4 formats. If condition provides the below 4 formats. First one is simple if condition. Second one is if else condition. Third one is else if condition. Fourth one is nested if condition. These are the four formats are available. Simple if condition, if else condition, else if condition, and the nested if condition. These are the four conditions are available. Four formats are available as part of if conditions. Then what exactly each and every format we'll see one by one with some practical examples. The first one, simple if condition. So how this simple if condition will look like? What is the syntax of the simple if condition? Now let me explain. The syntax is it will be having this. If we can specify the conditions, how many multiple, we can use that multiple conditions also we can specify. How to specify the multiple conditions with the help of logical operators. What logical operators are available in Apex programming? We are having three logical operators, and, or, not. During the operators concept already we have discussed what are the various operators are available as part of this logical operators here inside your Apex programming language. So not only specifying one condition, we can specify the multiple conditions also. If the conditions are satisfied, we can able to execute the statements. Now, write the statements. So this is the starting of that block over here. This is the starting of the block. That means if the specified conditions are satisfied, if these are true, then please enter into this block and then execute this block of statements. So inside this block, we can able to specify that condition statements. How many n number of statements also we can specify, either one statement or multiple statements also we can able to specify inside this. So for that reason here, whenever if you want to execute some piece of code based on some certain conditions, then we can go with that conditional statements, and as part of that we can use if condition. As part of this simple if condition, we can able to simply specify the conditions, and then if the conditions are satisfied, it will be executing these statements. What are the statements that were written here that will be getting executed? Now how can we specify that here? Upon preparing the condition, how can we specify the conditions? Each and every condition we can able to prepare like this. Each condition should follow the below syntax. How can we specify that? The syntax is, upon preparing the condition, we can specify. We can specify the variable name, and then we can specify the operator, and we can specify the value. That's it. You know that concept here. That is not new. Like for example, I want to indicate rating equals to some heart. That means I'm comparing whether this rating value is equals to heart or not. That means if the rating value is equals to heart, we can verify if the second number value greater than 0 or if the industry value is equals to some finance R. If the phone number value not equals to null R. If the is active status is equals to true or not. Like that, we are going to be adding the condition. Depends upon your requirement, we can add the conditions also inside this. So we can verify that whether the rating value is equals to heart or not. Second number value is greater than 0 or not. Industry value is equals to finance or not. Phone number is not equals to null or not. So is active equals to true or not. So we can able to verify this. So this is one single conditions we have prepared. How can we prepare multiple conditions here? Now let me show you. In this case, I want to verify if the industry is equals to banking or not. Banking, and that means second condition also I'm preparing over here. How can we specify that? So now I'm indicating annual revenue is greater than some 20 lakhs. That means first condition and second condition, both the conditions should be satisfied. Okay, so that here not only preparing one condition, we can prepare the multiple conditions also. We can group the condition, we can club the conditions together by using this logical operators like as and, or, not. We can verify that also here. We can specify the location field. So if the position location value, okay, location underscore underscore C is equals to some Bangalore or not. And okay, location equals to Bangalore or not. And then minimum pay is less than 15 lakhs or not. Like that, we can check the multiple conditions also. Depends upon your requirement, we can able to verify the conditions also here. Not only one, multiple conditions we can verify by using this if condition. So that here, by using this if condition, we can add one or more number of user different conditions. With the help of those conditions, we can able to verify so whether this variable is having that sufficient value or not. If it is satisfying the condition, then only we can go ahead to execute your piece of code. Now, so in this case, how can we write this piece of code? Now let's see. So whenever I'm executing this a piece of code, okay, whenever I'm executing this a piece of code, okay, whenever I'm executing this piece of code, it is causing some issue. What is that? System.math exception divided by 0. Why? Because second number value equals to 0. Which statements are causing this issue? Division operation, remainder operation. Then what I want to do, I want to add one condition over here. Before executing that, I want to add a condition. How? By using this if condition. If the second number value greater than 0. That means if the second number variable value is greater than 0, then only execute this statement. Okay, then only perform this division operation and then remainder operation. I'm writing inside this. So if the second number value is greater than 0, then only execute these statements or else skip the execution of the statement. So as of now, what happened? It is causing that exception to be here. Now let me execute this. Now click on execute. There is no errors at all. Because if the condition is satisfying, then only statements will execute. Or else statements will be skipping from the execution. It will skip from the execution automatically. It won't execute. Now, so let's go to that debug log file. Select the debug only checkbox. Now it is indicating addition result, subtraction result, multiplication result. Now, so now here in this case, it is performing this addition operation result and the subtraction operation and the multiplication operations. We can able to see that. This is how we can able to add the conditions in order to avoid that exceptions. So whatever the piece of code that we written, okay, if there is any conditions are required, we can able to add one or more number of user different conditions also. Based on that condition, we can decide whether these statements can be executable or not. Now, let me place this piece of code inside the document and let's go with that some more processes. Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Why didn't it return any result for division and remainder?
Sorry.
We only get written 3 result, right? And what about this div? Okay, due to 0, it won't execute.
Right.
So
right.
it won't give any
Yeah.
like error message also.
It won't display any error message over there. It won't display any error message. If you want to show error message, second statement of if condition. Okay, read the second format. Okay, if else part. We'll see each and everything. Okay.
Okay.
Now, so in this case, here it is having that verifying that value. What is the second number value? 0. So it will be verifying the condition 0 greater than 0. Now tell me 0 is greater than 0? No. 0 is always equals to 0. So condition is false. If the condition is false, it won't enter into the block. Simply it will be coming out from the block automatically. It won't execute those statements. Okay. So here we can able to skip the execution of this statement so that we can avoid exceptions. Let me place this. So let me explain one more problem in this case. In this simple if there is a, what is that? Let me explain. So when the user is executing this code, user is expecting 5 results. He is expecting addition result, subtraction result, multiplication result, division result, and the remainder result. These are the 5 results the user is expecting. But whenever he is executing this piece of code, he can see only the 3 results. You can see only the 3 results. Now, whenever I'm selecting this debug only checkbox, it will display that results. Only 3 results. Then the user will thought of there is a problem in the application. Okay, in this case, user will thought of there is a problem in the application, but basically the problem is not in the application side. The problem is in the user side. What is the problem from the user? User has given second number value as 0. Because of that, so it is unable to perform the remaining 2 operations. Now in this case, now suppose for example, if the application is unable to perform the operation, it has to show some message, right, boss? So you did some wrong. Okay, you have entered some wrong values. So second number value you have entered 0. So because of that, we are unable to perform some division and modulus operations. It has to show some message, right? Like for example, when you go to login screen, if I'm entering wrong username or wrong password, it is showing the message, right? Invalid username or password. Then the user will get realized, oh, I have entered some wrong password. Suppose if the application, the login screen is not showing any error message, then how the user can understand what is the problem? Is it a problem from my side? Is it a problem from application side? The user can't decide. User can't understand. So in this case here, I want to show some message. If the user is entering correct values, it will perform the operation. If the user is entering wrong values, it has to show some message, boss, I'm unable to perform these 2 operations because you have entered second number value 0. So that we can't go ahead with these 2 operations. So you can get only 3 results here. Then user will get realized, he will enter the correct values and he will execute the application again so that he will collect that complete results. Then how can we do that here? For that reason, we are going to be using the help of one more conditional statement that is called as if else. If the second number value greater than 0, it will perform the operation. If the second number value equals to 0, then I want to perform some different operation. I want to show some message to the people. So that here I'm going to be using this if else condition. Then what is this if else condition? Now let's see practically in this case. If else condition. So how the syntax will look like? Now let me explain. The syntax. Syntax will be looking like this. If you can specify the conditions. If all the conditions are satisfied, it will enter into the block code. So we can able to write the statement. Else, that means if the condition is failed, okay, then I want to execute some different set of statements. Write the statements. So upon verifying the conditions, if the conditions are satisfied, then what it will do, it will return true. So it will be executing this block of statements. So these are called as true block statements. True block statements. True block statements means what? Whenever the conditions are satisfied, if all the conditions are satisfied, it will return true. If the condition is true, then this is the piece of code. The immediate block it will be getting executed. If the condition is failed, it will be executing that false block statements. Which is called as false block statement. Okay. If the conditions are satisfied, it will execute the true block statements, or else it will execute false block statements. Then how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. So whenever we are going to be writing the conditions, we have to specify that. If you want to handle both, like as true and the false, then we have to write both the conditions over. In this case, what we can do, so now if the user is giving some second number as 0, then it has to show, my application should show some message, boss, we are unable to perform the modulus and the division operations here. Now, so let me execute that here. Let me indicate that I'm writing this piece of code. Else, I want to write that piece of code. If the condition is satisfied, that means second number greater than 0, perform this operation. Second number is less than 0, okay, then do this operation. If it is equals to 0 or less than 0, then perform this operation. What is that operation? I want to show the message. System.debug, we cannot perform division and modulus operation as the second number is 0. As the second number is 0. So I want to show this error message here. Okay, I want to show the error message system.debug, we cannot perform the division and modulus operations as the second number value equals to 0. So we have entered the second number value 0, because of that we are unable to perform that operation. Now let me test it over. For example, I'm giving the second number value as some 60. Second number value I have entered as 60. Let me execute this. See the results. Select the debug only checkbox and let's verify the result here. It is indicating all the 5 results: addition result, subtraction result, multiplication result, division result, and the remainder result. All the 5 operation results you can able to see. Suppose, for example, if I'm giving the second number value as 0, what will happen? Click on execute. Now let's see the result. The first 3 operations it will perform as it is, and then for the remaining 2 operations it will be giving some error message. It will be giving some message, printing message. It is indicating that addition result, subtraction, and the multiplication result. We can see regarding the division and the modulus, it is giving some message. We cannot perform division and modulus operation as the second number is. Then if I'm showing this kind of message, then the people will get realized what is the mistake that we did, so that they can correct the mistakes by entering the proper values or the correct values, so that here they can able to see all the results also.
Sir, how to display separate message for division and modulus both?
Separate conditions we have to write. Okay, separate statements we can able to write over. Here we can able to add multiple conditions also. Here we can able to specify if the second number value, nothing but if for the multiple division we can able to check one more condition. For that remainder also we can check some different conditions also, like this. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So now here in this case, whenever we are going to performing the operations, if the first number, that means if the first conditions are satisfied, it will execute that piece of code, or else it will be executing that else block of statements. This is the functionality of if else condition. Okay. Let me place this piece of code. Let me place this use case. So let's take one more small use case. Let's take one more small use case. Let's take a small use case. I'm giving the requirement. Write an Apex program write an Apex program to find out the biggest number from the given two numbers. Find out the biggest number from the given two numbers. For example, I'm having two numerical values are available with me. Okay, I'm having two numerical values are available with me. Like for example, some 20 and then some 100. So from these two, which one is biggest? 100. So through programmatically, I would like to achieve it. So by looking into the value, we can understand. But by through programming, how can we achieve it? So I want to pass two values to my program. Then my program should identify which one is the biggest one. It has to print. How can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Now, so I'm defining the two variables. To store both the values, I'm defining two variables. Integer first number, comma second number. I'm defining the two variables here. Both will be of type numerical. Okay. If you want to find out the biggest one and the smallest one, then both that will be applicable only on the numericals. Numericals are the decimals, are the date values and the time values we can able to apply. And the remaining string fields we can't apply over there. So in this case here, I'm having the two numerical values are there, first number and the second number. I'm assigning some value. First number equals to some 4,500. Second number equals to some 670. Two values I'm having that. Now what is my requirement? I want to identify from these two which one is the biggest. How can we write the logic? I would like to check this value. Generally, we are going to be looking into both the values. We are going to be comparing whether 4,500 is greater than 670 or not. Yes. If yes, so 4,500 is the biggest one. So here also we are doing the same thing. Just you can verify. If the first number, that means the value 4,500 is greater than second number. Okay, if it is greater than second number, then I want to show the message. System.debug. First number is the biggest. Else. That means what? If else, that means if the condition has been failed, then what we can do? Else, I want to show that message. Second number is the biggest. So if the first number value is greater than second number, then I want to print the message first number is the biggest. Or else I want to print the message second number is the biggest one, because here we are having only two. If that is the big, or else the alternative case, this will be the second will be the biggest one. That's it, nothing else. So I have given two values, 4,500 and 670. So if both the values are available, then it will verify the condition. If 4,500 is greater than 670 or not, yes, condition is true. It will enter into that immediate block. It will be displaying the message. First number is the biggest one. Now, click on execute. Select the debug only checkbox. It is indicating the message first number is the biggest one, because first number value is what? 6,500. That is biggest than 670. Now I'm indicating that second number value I'm making it as 6,700. First number value is 4,500. Second number value is 6,700. Now tell me which one is the biggest one now? Second number. So I want to calculate through programming. So click on execute button. See the results. It is not loading that debug log file still. Click on execute. You can see this debug log file. Select the debug only checkbox. Now it is indicating second number is the biggest one. So it is indicating second number value is the biggest one. This is how we are going to be writing that piece of code in order to verify which one is the biggest one and which one is the smallest one. This is how we have to build some small logics upon writing the piece of code. Now, let me place this code. But after writing that code, we have to test the code with both positive values, negative values also. That means initially make the first number as the biggest value, and then the second time executing the code, make the second number value as the biggest value, so that we can check both the conditions also. Because we need to test it. Because initial testing is our responsibility as a developer. It is our responsibility. We have to test that code perfectly. Okay.
Because in else there we cannot place any condition, right?
Sorry.
If we can place one condition, right? Same as well in else, after that we cannot place any condition, right?
Yes, this is the if condition and this is the else. After that, if you want to write one more if condition, then you can write one more if condition also here. No problem. N number of if conditions we can write over here. No limitations at all. Depends upon the logic, depends upon the code which you want. You can able to write n number of if conditions also. One by one also. Okay, one inside the another also we can write. We'll see both the cases as well.
Okay, thank you.
We are not able to hear you, sir.
So write an Apex program to find out the student result. For example, we have a student. Student has appeared for his semester exams. Totally some 5 subjects are there. So he has given that all the 5 subjects exams, and then he got the results. Nothing but he got the results also. So I would like to find out the result of his student. Depends upon his marks. Okay, based on the marks. So for that one, I would like to write a small program. So write an Apex program to find out the student result, okay, as below. So here I'm indicating that node pointer. We have the 5 subjects, like as English, Math, Physics, Chemistry, and some Hindi. These are the 5 subjects are there. And the student will be passed when, if the student got more than 40 marks, in each subject, and he will be failed. Okay, when, if the student got less than 40 marks in any of the subject. Any of the subject. This is the use case, this is the requirement of it. Write an Apex program to find out the student result as below. So we have 5 subjects are there, and then in this subject, if the student is getting more than 40 marks in each and every subject, then only he will be passed, or else he will be failed. This is one use case. Second use case. Second requirement. Write an Apex program to find out the bill amount of the customer based on the quantity and unit price, and offer the discount as below. In this case, if the bill amount is greater than 10,000, bill amount is greater than 10,000, then offer 20% discount. If the bill amount is greater than 10,000 rupees, then offer 20% discount. Else, no discount provided to customer. Okay. So now here what we need to do, we have to define 2 variables. One is quantity, second one is unit price, and then define one more variable to store the bill amount. And based on that bill amount, how to do that, you know already. Already you have discussed. So now in this case, if the bill amount value is more than 10,000, then offer 20% discount on that bill amount here. Then display the value. Calculate the discount and then subtract the discount value from the actual bill amount. Display what is the amount he has to pay. After this discount, what is the amount he has to pay. Next. Suppose if the bill amount value is less than 10,000, then no discount. We are not offering any discount to the customer. These are the 2 examples over here. Use that if else condition, implement this function. Okay.